I have a very simple system. I call it organized uncommon sense. All I do is take conventional sense and strip the S and entity out of it. And then I have uncommon sense, because most people use conventional sense instead of uncommon sense. So my whole method of operation is just to avoid S and entity. I don't succeed 100%, but I succeed more than most.
My question is, you talk frequently about having the moral imperative to be rational, and yet as humans we're constantly carrying this evolutionary baggage which gets in the way of us thinking rationally. Are there any tools or behaviors you embrace to facilitate your rational thinking?
The answer is, of course. I hardly do anything else. And one of my favorite tricks is the inversion process. And I'll give you an example. When I was a meteorologist in World War II, they told me how to draw weather maps and predict the weather. But what I was actually doing is clearing pilots to take flights. And he just reversed the problem. I inverted. I said, suppose I wanted to kill a lot of pilots. What would be the easy way to do it? And I soon concluded that the only easy way to do it would be to get the planes into icing the planes couldn't handle, or to get the pilot to a place where he'd run out of fuel before he could safely land. So I made up my mind I was going to stay miles away from killing pilots by either icing or getting them into sucked-in conditions when they couldn't land. I think that helped me be a better meteorologist in World War II. I just reversed the problem. And if somebody hired me to fix India, I would immediately say, what could I do if I really wanted to hurt India? And I'd figure out all the things that could most easily hurt India, and then I'd figure out how to avoid them. Now, you'd say it's the same thing, it's just in reverse. But it works better to frequently to invert the problem. If you're a meteorologist, it really helps if you really know how to avoid something, which is the only thing that's going to kill your pilots. And if you can help India best if you understand what will really hurt India the easiest and worst. Algebra works the same way. Every great algebraist inverts all the time because the problems are solved easier. Human beings should do the same thing in the ordinary walks of life. Just constantly invert. You don't think of what you want, you think what you want to avoid. Or when you're thinking what you want to avoid, you also think about what you want. And you just go back and forth all the time. Peter Kaufman, who's here today, he likes the idea that you want to know how the world looks from the top looking down, and you want to know what it looks like from the bottom looking up. If you don't have both points of view, your reality recognition is lousy. Peter's right. And inversion is the same thing. Just such a simple trick to think, how does this look from the people above me? How does it look from the people beneath me? How can I hurt these people I'm trying to help? All these things help you think it through. And they're such simple tricks. They're like the lever. They really help. And yet, our great educational systems get advanced degrees. They don't teach people these simple tricks. They're wrong. They're just plain wrong.
I have a very simple system. I call it organized uncommon sense. All I do is take conventional sense and strip the S and entity out of it. And then I have uncommon sense, because most people use conventional sense instead of uncommon sense. So my whole method of operation is just to avoid S and entity. I don't succeed 100%, but I succeed more than most.
So how did you figure out, a lot of people look at your life and would want to emulate what you've done. Is that something that people can do, look at someone like yourself and see your path? I mean, you're in real estate law, then investing. What do you even consider yourself? A businessman? How would you describe what you do?
Well, I don't consider myself I think my way of thinking will work for anybody, of trying to be very rational and disciplined. So I think that much. But to flit around to various careers and go into the other fellow's professional territory and try and outdo him and do all kinds of things like that, I think will not work for most people. And so I always tell, I'm always being visited by young men who say, I'm practicing law and I don't like it. I'd rather be a billionaire. How can I do it? And I tell them, well, I'll tell you a story. A young man goes to see Mozart. And he says, Mozart, I want to start composing symphonies. And Mozart said, how old are you? And the guy says, 22. And he says, you're too young to do symphonies. And the guy says, yes, but you were 10 years old when you were composing symphonies. And Mozart says, yes, but I wasn't running around asking other people how to do it.
Right.
So I think this flitting around business is something not everybody should try.
Yeah, I think
I think if I tried it again, it might not have worked as well.
You said just figure out
I
how
may
to
have
do
been
something
quite
and do
lucky.
it. Why were you were lucky?
Yeah, I think I had some luck, yes.
Well, but I think there's more to it than that. I mean, where were you looking?
Yes, the combination of luck and skill. That's what all good records are.
People trying to figure out what the secret to life is, to a long and happy life. And I just wonder if you were...
Now that is easy because it's so simple.
What is
you
it?
don't have a lot of envy, you don't have a lot of resentment, you don't overspend your income, you stay cheerful in spite of your troubles, you deal with reliable people, and you do what you're supposed to do. And all these simple rules work so well to make your life better, and they're so trite.
How old were you when you figured this out?
About 7. I could tell that some of my older people were a little bonkers. I've always been able to recognize when other people were a little bonkers. And it helped me because there's so much irrationality in the world, and I've been thinking about it for a long time. Its causes and its preventions and so forth. Sure, it's helped me. And staying cheerful because it's the wise thing to do. Is that so hard?
Is there any advice you would go back and give your 20-year-old self?
I have not. Many of my children have worked out well, and I've had very little to do with it. I think they come into the world to a certain extent pre-made, and you just sit there and watch. The shy baby is a shy adult. The booming, obnoxious, domineering baby is the booming, domineering, obnoxious adult. I have never found a way to fix that. I can be cheerful about it, but I can't fix it. I can change my reaction, but I can't change the outcome.